Guys, I've titled my talk today, What's Your Why? And I'm going to tell you two stories, and then I'm going to try to pull those stories together. So back in 1985, I was a 7th grade student at Perry Middle School. Some of you may remember that we used to have a middle school in Worthington called Perry. It's where we now have Phoenix, Worthington Academy, and Rockbridge. Back in 1985, we had two middle schools. We had the Perry Patriots and the Worthing Way Wildcats. Board member Jennifer Best and we were Patriots. Board member Julie Keegan, she was an aptly named Wildcat. So guys, back in 1985, the gym teacher at Perry was a man by the name of Noel Noblet. Sadly, Noel passed away unexpectedly last fall. But Noel had grown up with my dad. They grew up in the Linden area. And as a family, we had gone to church with Noel and Kathy most of our life. Noel was the gym teacher. He was the boys' basketball coach. And, in that role, he loved the Larry Bird teams, the Boston Celtics teams from the mid-1980s. He was a huge Celtics fan. I, on the other hand, was more of a Showtime Lakers fan. And that difference, that Celtics versus Lakers difference, is the only conceivable reason that I could come up with that my dad's lifelong friend would cut me from the 7th grade boys basketball team. My inability to dribble, pass, shoot effectively couldn't have been the reason that Kyle Lucas, Chris Piella, and Darren Grundy made the team, and I didn't. So I had known Mr. Noblet most of my life, but as a 7th grade boy, I was not going to admit to anybody at school that I knew this guy. And it worked out okay. He was too busy wearing the old gray Rydell coaching shorts and teaching the perfect two-hand push pass, so we didn't have really much time to interact. But guys, it was April of 1986. And I was walking down the center hallway at Perry, and I was about 15 steps east of the library. And I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm the only student in the hallway, and he's coming towards me, and so I'm trying to divert my eyes, right, so that he wouldn't, and Noel stopped me. And he looked me right in the eye, and he said, "Trent, I want you to know I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here to help you." That was it. I was really uncomfortable with this conversation, but in fairness to Mr. Noblet, I was uncomfortable with any adult interaction when I was in middle school. And we went about our day. When I got home that afternoon, or when the bus dropped us off on our street, coincidentally when Miss Morris dropped me off on the bus on our street, I was walking down my street, and my mom, she was waiting in the driveway. That was odd. My mom didn't wait in the driveway on a normal day. And again, as a 7th grade boy, it certainly wasn't cool, like if mom's out or seen with mom. So mom was waiting in the driveway, and when I got there, I realized it wasn't a normal day in our house. Mom was waiting in the hallway to tell me that my dad had had a massive heart attack, and he was in the hospital and awaiting surgery. Dad was swimming during the day at Westerville Athletic Club. Some of you remember the old Westerville Athletic Club. And he was swimming, and he had a heart attack while he was in the pool. The lifeguard saved his life, first by getting him out of the water, and then by administering CPR. They went in to do a triple bypass surgery, and they realized he only had 2 of the 3 arteries that you should have, and so it ended up only being a double bypass surgery. Now, no worries. Dad's here in the front row today, so this story turns out okay. But a few days later, it hit me. As my dad's lifelong friend, when Mr. Noblet stopped me in the hallway, he already knew about his heart attack. He didn't yet know that everything was going to be okay. Noel wanted to make sure that I knew that he cared about me, and you know what? I knew that was true. He may have had to do the hard thing and cut his friend's son from the boys' basketball team, erroneously, I might add. He may have had to do that. But see, his purpose wasn't to teach the perfect two-hand push pass. His purpose wasn't to win the 8th grade boys basketball tournament. His purpose was helping students succeed. And he was very clear about that. So that's story number one. Story number 2. You've got to fast forward 11 years, and I'm a first-year teacher at Potomac Elementary School in Dahlgren, Virginia. It's my first year as a teacher, and they gave me the old kitchen as my classroom. No lie. It wasn't a terrible space. It was a rectangular space, had fairly high ceilings, had windows on 3 sides, and it had an exterior door to the back. The quirkiness of this space was to get into my classroom, all of my kids had to walk entirely through Mr. Young's 5th grade classroom, which was in the old cafeteria. And incidentally, like 4 times bigger than they gave the first-year teacher, right? So it was a quirky space. Now, I began that year, my first year as a teacher, maybe like some of you, I had a mix of confidence and trepidation. Guys, I really had no idea how to teach, but I figured, that's what the teacher's edition was for. It would have all the answers that I would need. I thought that the thing that I would be pretty good at was discipline. See, I had read Harry Wong's The First Days of School several times, and my principal, Mr. Mark Allen, he really believed in the old Lee Cantor's assertive discipline. And so following this assertive discipline process, I had set up a token economy in my classroom, and all day long, I would walk around with this Monopoly money, and I would pass it out to my kids like I was a bank teller whenever I caught them doing something good. This worked really well for almost 2 full days. Guys, it was on day 3 of my teaching career when I realized I was in big, big trouble. See, on day 3 of my teaching career, a young lady came into my classroom named Alexis. And Alexis decided that she was going to sit under her desk. Her morning work stayed on top of her desk. Her chair stayed on top of her morning work. And she just decided she was going to sit under her desk. I didn't think much of it at first. I just asked Alexis, to move to her seat. I got no response. So I thought, well, maybe I should have said please. So I said, Alexis, would you please, move to your seat? I got no response. I waited about 5 minutes, and I went over to her again, and I whispered in her ear, sweetie, would you please move to your chair? Nothing. No response. So I started teaching. I thought, I got to do something, so I started teaching. We were probably doing like popcorn reading or something totally inappropriate. And so this went on for like 30 minutes, and she was still under her desk, and I thought, I'll bribe her. So I offered her $20 from the Monopoly money I was passing out if she would just move into her seat. Alexis, she thought about this for just a second. And then she told me where I could stick my Monopoly money. Hey, this was not in my Harry Wong book, right? I was not sure what to do, and I thought, if you're not going to listen to me, how about a trip to the principal's office? And so I called the office. Mr. Allen, our principal, came down, and the door was in the left-hand side of our room. And I remember like yesterday, he got to the doorway, and every kid in the class, they turned and looked. And a hush came across my classroom. And I was like, yeah, listen to me or that guy's coming down, right? So Mr. Allen, he went over to Alexis, and he said to Alexis, Alexis, would you move to your seat, sweetie? Nothing. No response. So Mr. Allen, he was an experienced principal. So he got down on the ground. So he was face to face with Alexis. And I would like to tell you that I knew what they were doing, but the principal was in my room, so I was over here pretending to teach. I was trying to watch out the side of my eye, but I don't really know what was going on because he was there. I wanted to pretend like I was teaching. And here's the thing. He talked to her for about 3 minutes. And then he got up. He didn't say a word to me at all. And he just left my classroom. And I didn't say this out loud because I wanted to stay employed, but I'm like, where are you going? Like, what am I supposed to do now? I was still in the classroom. She was still under her desk, and he was gone, right? We had 178 school days left that year. And on day 3, I couldn't even get Alexis out from under her desk. It wasn't always Alexis that year. Sometimes it was Sean or Gregory or Carla or Jason, but it was somebody almost every day. And often I was like, what am I doing? I'd become a teacher and a coach, partly because my dad said the benefits would be good, and I thought, for the most part, I like kids, and, for the most part, I think kids like me. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard, but it was, until I realized why. Why am I going to get up in the morning? Why am I going to be a teacher or a coach? Why am I going to work with kids who won't get out from under their desk? Or kids who might give me lice back when I had hair and I had some sweet feathered hair, right? Why am I going to do a job where, parents might yell at me? Or a job where I can't go out to lunch? Or a job where I can't even go to the bathroom when I need to? Why? It took me until my 3rd year as a teacher before I really understood what Noel Noblet already understood: my why. For me as a teacher, my purpose, my why became that through relationship with my kids, through building deep relationship, I really wanted to make a positive difference in their lives. Now as the superintendent of schools, my why has been broadened to say I really want to make a positive difference in this Worthington community. And it's critical that I know my why. This job's too difficult otherwise. I work for 5 outstanding Board of Education members, but they're 5 elected officials, and they often tell me each should do something different than the other one did. In this job, I'm asked to make decisions that make people angry. Sometimes they make some of you angry. And when that happens, people post mean things about me on social media. People sometimes say mean things about me to my kids and to my wife. People sometimes even say mean things about my kids and my wife. If I'm going to do this job, I have to know why. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And so here's the thing. The same goes for you. What's your why? Why do you choose, to work in Worthington schools? Why do you choose to drive a school bus here? Why do you choose to serve lunch in one of our cafeterias? Why do you choose to work in one of our offices or clean our schools? Why do you choose to teach or coach here? I have news for you that you already know, but there are easier ways to make a living than in public education. In public education and in Worthington schools, if you're going to be successful, you have to be madly passionate about helping every child succeed. And I'm going to say that again because it's probably the most important thing I'll say today. But in Worthington schools, if you want to be successful, you have to be madly passionate about helping every child succeed. You have to care so much about our kids that you're willing to put up with all sorts of silliness from the kids and sometimes from the adults. Sometimes you have to be so committed that you're willing to be bit, thrown up on, cussed out, threatened, and once in a while, hugged. And you've got to be willing to come back and do it again the next day. So what's your why? In Worthington schools, we spent last year working to develop our collective why. That's now framed as the mission of our school district, to empower a community of learners who will change the world. That's our why. To empower is to enable or permit, to give authority to. A community of learners is represented by the 10,000 students who will walk in our doors tomorrow. It's represented by the 1,250 Worthington School staff members that are on our team and are in this room today. And our community of learners represents the 60,000 residents of our school district boundary lines. To prepare our students to change the world, that's our purpose. And as Mark said, it is a broad and audacious goal, but our students will change the world. They'll do it in big and small ways. Some of them will go out and they'll start companies. Others will work in politics. Others will do important research. Some of our kids will be senior caretakers, our senior caretakers. Some of our kids will be the next generation of great public school teachers, and almost all will go on and be parents. If we're going to prepare our students to change the world, then they need a base level of academic content knowledge. But that academic content knowledge, it's not at yesterday's levels. It's at today's levels, really high levels of academic content knowledge. But academic content knowledge is not enough in today's world. Academic content knowledge has become a commodity with cell phones. If our students are going to go off and be prepared to change the world, then they need critical life skills. They need to be adaptable and resilient. They need to be entrepreneurial, inquisitive, critical thinkers, collaborators, lifelong learners. If our students are going to go off and change the world, what they do in your classroom matters. But what they do outside of your classroom, in Destination Imagination, in Science Olympiad, in First Robotics, in the theater, in the band, on the athletic field, it also matters. If our students are going to leave us and be ready to go off and change the world, then everybody here plays a role in making that happen. Everybody here. Let's watch our kids talk about that for just 2 minutes.
I want to be a climate scientist and try and study how to stop global warming.
Like cures for diseases like leukemia and pancreatic cancer.
Making better flying cars.
Try to help people who have mental, intellectual disabilities.
People are using technology in the information age to really get their message out and spread their ideas.
Helping kids who can't afford certain things like food or clothes.
Have gone actually to Cambodia, and that's where I was born, and I really care very deeply about that country, so I'd probably go back there.
I want to do it through music and sort of just like making people think.
I would plant stuff in my community and to make it a better world. If somebody couldn't pick up their room, I would help them.
So I want my own studio, and I want it to be for free, you know?
So there wouldn't be anyone afraid of someone else because of who they are, and everyone would be completely okay with who they are as a human being.
I learned all about bioprinting and the printing of actual organs as a way to reduce the number of people on the organ transplant list.
Robotics and bionics and the human body.
In one class we're talking about a lot about different cultures and ways we can understand people and not be stereotypical.
We're making Valentine's cards for senior citizens that are homeless or alone.
I've been able to help myself and learn that, I need to think before speaking. I need to treat others with respect.
Music really helped me learn through stuff with math and language, and I think it's really important that kids who are struggling through that could use that for their advantage.
To be able to just have this great life experience first before we enter the real world and to be as prepared as possible.
They encourage travel and learning about different cultures. So I think right now I'm doing the learning part of understanding, but then I want to go out and spread the understanding and help other people.
Guys, few organizations really know, and few people really know why they do what they do. We often know what we want to do. We sometimes know how we're going to work to accomplish it. But it's critical that we start with our why. This year, our goal in Worthington schools is to cement our collective why, to empower a community of learners who will change the world. What I'd like you to do is over the next few weeks to really think about how do you personally fit in to that mission? What role do you play in empowering our community of learners to change the world? At the same time, I want you to think about your personal why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you choose to work in Worthington schools? Why do you choose to work with our kids? It's critical that we understand our why. Guys, Noel Noblet was a gym teacher. He was my gym teacher. He was a middle school teacher like many of you, and as a middle school teacher, he devoted his life to shepherding kids through a very transitional period of their own lives. Noel's purpose was clear: helping students succeed. He used the gym class and the basketball court as his how. You know, for some of you, your how will be French class or Latin class. For some of you, the how will be time when students get on your bus that you really make them feel special and build a relationship. For some of you, the how is when you spend extra time with kids at the lunch hour or in the cafeteria. For some of you, your how is when kids come to your office and they feel safe, and it's a safe place and where a relationship is built. As a young teacher, I struggled for a few really difficult years. I knew what I wanted to accomplish. I had kind of an idea on how I was supposed to do it. But I didn't yet know my why. Once I understood my why, it was never easy. But my purpose was clear. Guys, our goal is to empower a community of learners who will change the world. Tomorrow, we begin to make that happen. Have a great, great school year.